Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of Punishing Dumbass Openings. I think this is number 11 in the series of Dumbass Openings, and we'll just dive straight in. It's a straight up 10-minute rapid game. I have the white pieces. I start with e4. Now in this game, I even managed to blunder. I think I blunder a rook at this point, but it doesn't matter because you'll see how far behind my opponent is in terms of his control of the board and his options. So e4 and then e6. So he's playing the French. So I'm thinking he's going to be playing d5, c5, right? So I'm doing this kind of French wing gambit thing at the moment where I put the knight out first, but he doesn't do that. He plays d6. So he's not contesting any of the squares on my side of the board, right? Whereas I'm already controlling two squares on his side. So it would be rude not to grab the center. d4. So now I've got 4 right here, and he's just sitting right back. And now c6. Okay? So he's just playing his cards really close to his chest. Knight to c3. Why not? Knights before bishops. This knight defends this pawn. My bishops are completely free to come out now. This knight's defending this pawn. This is like the ideal setup. And now a6. Okay. Well, I bring out a bishop. Okay, second defender on e4, also preparing to castle. What's not to like? h6. Okay, you can see a bit of a pattern emerging here. This isn't the hippopotamus. He's not, well, he could, I guess, put his, I think the idea is you put your bishops here and your knights in the middle with a hippo, but anyway, he doesn't even do that. So I castle, right? So now I'm just steaming ahead with my development. He develops a piece, finally, on move 6. I develop a bishop, so now we've practically completed development. Knight comes out, and now he's thinking about castling. Okay. So what do we do at this point? So I figure here that e5 looks good. Because if... And also, you need to bear in mind that he's pushed h6, okay? So he's going to need to move his knight. If he captures with the pawn, I capture there, and he still needs to move his knight. So I want to stop him from being able to castle if I at all can. So he doesn't capture the pawn, instead he retreats his knight because it seems like he likes playing on the back 3 ranks. So now I just grab the knight with my bishop. Right? Yeah, it's a good bishop, right? But the rook's going to have to retake, and there's no more castling on that side of the board. So let's put a sad face. He can't castle on that side of the board anymore, right? So rook recaptures. So this rook's now moved, which means that there's no castling kingside. He could still castle queenside. Right. So now, my king's castled. His king's still in the middle of the board. And what should we do? Well, we should think about centralizing our rooks, and we should think about bursting through in the middle, remove the material, expose this guy. Okay? Queen takes. Now, queen to d3, and of course I'm looking at the vulnerable rook. So I'm improving my queen, right? Getting my queen off the back rank. I'm connecting my rooks, right? And it's just coming with tempo because I'm attacking his piece. So now he has to react to what I'm doing. So rook goes back to h8, and simply centralize the rooks, right? This is one of the easiest games you'll ever get. Queen to b3 looking at the pawn. b4. I push b3. To defend. Now he develops a knight. Notice this bishop is now completely blocked in, right? Because he's moved all the wrong pawns. He's moved his c pawn, for example. It doesn't help his bishop to come out. This pawn doesn't help his bishop to come out. In fact, it's making life worse for that bishop. Okay, so now a3, kick the queen. Why not? Right? Because look, the board, he's not controlling the board with his minor pieces, right? The only piece he's got actually out in the board to any significant degree is Her Majesty, and she's just got a sign on her bottom saying kick me. Okay, so kick her again. Now she comes back here. Okay, we've got, slightly bear in mind, we've got a potential threat down here. So now I decide to bring my knight around to here. Okay, and this knight actually proves significant later on. Now he develops his knight, I bring my knight back to g3. Okay, so sometimes it makes sense to move your pieces backwards. And this is just, 2 knights, all supported by pawns, That is as solid as a brick outhouse. Okay, now he comes after my bishop. I figure, so what? c4, gain more space. He captures the bishop, I capture with my rook. So this gives me possibilities, right? It gives me possibilities of doubling up my rooks on the e-file, for example. And I'm liking my pawn advance. I know that king e is never going to, he can't go that way, right? If he's going to try and castle, he's going to castle this way, and there is a wave of pawns heading that way. So bishop comes out. For some reason, I double up my rooks. So my idea now is push a pawn. He can't take with that one. So if he takes, I could even take with the queen, I think. And this pawn can't take, so all good. Moves his bishop now, and I push ahead with d5. And now he does finally castle, but he's castled into precarious position. Why? Because he's moved these stupid pawns earlier on in the game for no particular reason. Okay, so there's holes in his position. Let's see what happens. So I come in with my knight now, and I'm threatening f7 with the fork on both rooks. That's what happens when you castle queenside. The rooks end up on the same colour square, and the f pawn then becomes a target for a knight. So he has to capture, I recapture with a rook. And now I'm thinking, oh, that'd be good. d6, force the queen back. That'd be awesome. So king moves, d6, force the queen back. a4, just pressing home, right? And look at, I've got all these options now. My rooks can come across, you know? My pawns are now sacrificial. They're kamikaze pawns. Their only job is to try and eliminate as many of these guys as possible. Okay, so he kicks my rook. I'm not bothered. Rook back to e2, pushes another pawn. Why not? Okay, and now b5. My dogs are getting excited. They know they're going out for a walk in a minute. Okay, and he pushes a5. So I take the pawn. All I want to do is clear away the woodwork from here. Bishop takes. Unconcerned. Rook b2. And now this actually leaves the a4 pawn hanging, but these pawns are, if anything, in my way, right? I'd be quite happy for these pawns to be eliminated. So he grabs with the bishop, but it's not really a win, because I move my rook across. And you see here I've got a couple of options. I could have put this rook here, but then, you know, it's putting it onto a light coloured square, and he's only got a light bishop, so why not move this rook across so that both my rooks are now on dark squares, plus this pawn is still pinned. So the bishop has to retreat, I grab that. Okay, rook comes up, and look at, I mean, you wouldn't want to be black in this situation, would you? So I've got a couple of options here. I could double up my rooks on the a file, I could put my queen onto this dark diagonal and try and come in for some kind of mate. Notice that this square is guarded. So I play rook a2, he pushes this, and this is the point that I get overexcited and blunder, right? But it doesn't really matter, because I now play rook a8, and then I go, oh no, my rook, because he moved that pawn, so the bishop, right, is now guarding a8. Now what I failed to do after he did this was say to myself, what has changed? Okay, so the pawn's no longer guarding those, it's now guarding those, right? But also the pawn has vacated this, which means that and that are open. Okay, so I play my rook to a8 and blunder my rook, but it doesn't really matter. Now I push c5. I just want to get this pawn out of the way. Queen takes, and now I come into a6 with my queen, and there's really nothing that black can do at this point, right? If he puts his rook in the way, queen takes, king has to go to there, queen takes that, it's going to be all over. He's going to lose both rooks at the very least. So now I grab the bishop here, and it's simply checkmate. So there you go. How not to start the game of chess, okay? Let's just look at this. So this move 6 before he moves his first piece, right? He's played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single pawn moves, okay? This bishop can't get any further than here, right? This bishop can't get any further than here. His bishops are awful. This knight actually can't move forwards really much at all. It can only go to there, which is the same only square that that bishop's got. It's absolutely terrible. So finally he starts to develop, and look at me, I'm practically done, you know? Both these pawns are defended twice. My queen has options. She can get behind this bishop, or she can get behind this bishop, right? My rook's almost connected, my king is safe. That is why we have opening principles, boys and girls. I followed them, my opponent did not. He's rated nearly 1300, and you have to say, how on earth do you get to 1284 playing openings like this? I really don't know. I really don't get it. It has to qualify as a dumbass opening. And even though yours truly went ahead and blundered a rook for no good reason at all, just by being gung-ho and, you know, too free-spirited and getting overexcited, doesn't really matter. His position was so bad, his king protection was so weak that, you know, I was able to force the win with ease, and it has to go down as one of the easiest games I've played, really. Okay, so there you go. Opening principles matter, right? Follow the principles. This setup that I've got here is pretty much bulletproof, right? If you can go for this, 2 pawns in the middle, right? Both knights. And then you've got options. You could put your bishops on these squares or these squares as well, right? It's all good. This is maybe slightly more conservative, but it's all good. It's all good. Okay, so there you go. There's your lesson in why opening principles matter. Do it properly. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe to Chess Bootcamp if you haven't subscribed, and I'll see you soon.